Hello, I'm Diane Booth, Operations Manager at Orion Industries. And to me, quality is everything, and quality belongs to everyone. So the QMS is not just the quality department's responsibility, it's everyone in the company's.
Hello everyone, I'm Sakshi Jain. I currently work as Quality Assurance Analyst at PACCAR. To me, quality is not an act, it's a habit, and that's what I have been trying to develop both personally and professionally. I personally believe quality is like a salt. Its presence may not be felt, but its absence definitely is.
Hi, I'm Christine Zesnick, Director of Global Manufacturing Strategy here at Genie. I'm very passionate about quality, especially here at Genie. The products we build lift people into the air, and so quality is paramount to their safety. So I equate quality and safety together.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Heather McMillan. I am the Senior Manager of Digital Technologies for Sekisui Aerospace. I'm also the Vice Chair for our Women in Manufacturing Washington chapter here locally, and the moderator of today's panel. Want to welcome you guys all to Genie. I hope you all had a great time on the tour. Hopefully you guys were able to ask a lot of questions and get some things answered and see some really cool stuff. So I'm going to allow the panel here to introduce themselves, and we'll get to know them, and we'll have some questions and answers at the end of this, so feel free to hold those for now, and then we'll ask some questions at the end. All right, so go ahead, Diane.
I'm Diane Booth. I'm currently the Operations Manager at Orion Industries. Prior to that, I was Quality Manager in aerospace for about 25 years, so that's where most of my background is. I think I came into quality organically somewhat. Started out as machine operator, shop floor inspector, quality liaison, quality engineer, and then probably the last over 20 years as quality manager in aerospace.
Yeah, thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Sakshi Jain. I'm working as Quality Assurance Analyst at PACCAR, a truck manufacturing company. My story is really interesting about how I landed up into quality because I never wanted to be here. But yeah, that we'll be covering maybe later on. I have been into product manufacturing, product quality, supplier quality, and various domains of quality. And I have more than 7 years of experience around quality. So yeah, pleasure to be here. Happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Christine Zesnick. I'm the Director of Global Manufacturing Strategy here at Genie. I've been at Genie 13 years. Prior to that, I was with IBM doing ERP implementations at Caterpillar. And so I kind of fell into manufacturing that way. I loved being on the shop floor and just every day being different. And so that's kind of how I got here. I spent some time in supply chain, in product management, a little time in sales, and now in back shops. So happy to be here. Happy to see everyone here. Thanks for being here at Genie.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the panel. So the first thing that we want to talk through is, what does a normal day in the life for you look like in your role?
I would speak as quality manager, I guess. Very seldom does the day go how I'm seeing it go in my head driving into work. It seems as quality, anything that happens that you don't want to happen gets brought to quality. Quality, you can kind of feel like you're the complaint department sometimes. Everybody's bringing you everything that's gone wrong. So, it could get derailed within 10 minutes. So what I try to do, because you're dealing a lot with things that have gone wrong, things that need to be fixed, things that need to be researched, I try and balance that out with positives. So to balance out my unplanned time or dealing with nonconformances, I would concentrate a lot of scheduling some continuous improvement, maybe training for a lot of the people, just positives, go through KPIs, look for some wins, look for improvement areas, share that with the team, things that we've done well. So yeah, quality is kind of ever-changing, I think daily is what I've noticed. A lot of unexpected stuff happens.
I feel when we talk about quality, the first thing that comes into mind is like audits. Oh, somebody would be coming towards us and, assessing us. Oh, you're doing this thing right. You're doing this thing wrong. But I believe that is the last thing we do. We try to build in quality into the products. So for me, it's like you have to be a part of proactive quality. You design quality into products. It could be by setting internal standards, setting the right expectations for the product, for the process. And that's how a day-to-day life in my role of quality looks like.
Yeah, my role's a little bit different. I'm not in the day-to-day on the shop floor. I spend a lot of time determining or working with our teams to determine, are we using the right levels of vertical integration in a particular factory? As new products get developed and our engineers develop a new product or option, where are we making that to best support the different markets that we serve? We have manufacturing facilities in China, in Italy, in Mexico, here in Redmond, and across the mountains in Moses Lake. And so we're serving the global market. We have a lot of factories doing a lot of different things. And so my mornings start early with talking to Italy, and then sometimes go a little bit later talking to China, and really looking at our long-term path to make sure that we're serving our customers from an operations perspective and having the right capacity in the right place at the right time. So I'm talking to our factories, I'm talking to tax and trade, I'm talking to our IT groups. So a little bit of everything kind of every day.
So with such challenging roles across the board, there has to be a moment in your life that you're just truly proud of something that you've accomplished. So I know that, Christine, you told a story about relocating and taking a different role. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily operations related, but I was given the opportunity to do an expat assignment in Switzerland with Genie and work out of our European headquarters there. And I don't think I gave myself enough credit at the time for how brave that was. And it wasn't just brave for me. My husband had to take a 2-year leave of absence from his job just as he had achieved his dream job, lifelong goal. And so we had always prioritized his career, and we took this pause and prioritized mine. And so I think kind of after we got back and I had been home for another year or two, I went, man, was it crazy or was it brave? And I think what it did for me and for us, both personally and professionally, was more than I could probably put into words or thank Genie for the opportunity. And I just grew so much, and we had tremendous travel opportunities too. If you ever get to go to Switzerland, do it. It's awesome. But I think I guess my message there is take that chance on yourself, take the opportunities when you get them, and don't think like I said, we'd prioritize my husband's career. And so maybe that hadn't really been a thought in my head that we would go do something abroad for my career. So don't say no. Just consider everything. Take every opportunity you can is the message.
And Sakshi, I know you had also another interesting experience that you talked about that you were super proud of.
Yeah, so I've been into various quality roles, and there was this one project that I have been given where I have to identify a root cause because the company were facing so many warranty and in-house defects. So of course, it has something to do with the quality. So I started analyzing, look at various stages and see where exactly we are getting a peak of the defects. And I started by doing an analysis stage by stage. So at certain stage, I found that, after this stage, I'm getting a very high defect. I was like, okay, let me start by checking out what does the document says, what is the process. So I started looking for production documents, manufacturing process related documents, and of course the maintenance documents as well. And an interesting thing I figured out was, the machine was due a long time ago for maintenance. It has not been maintained for a while. So I just casually reached out to maintenance team. I was like, do you mind doing the maintenance of this machine on a priority basis? And surprisingly, after the maintenance, we saw the in-house defects, they drastically reduced, say from 10,000 ppm to 1,000 ppm. And I was like, wow. And then we kept monitoring it for a while. We saw a drastic reduction in in-house defects, warranties. And that was a moment I realized, oh, we slip from the small stones and not really big rocks, right? So just a minute thing which I feel people feel it's very obvious and it's okay if we are not doing those minor things. But yeah, that's something I feel I'm very proud of, because you have to have keen eyes on every little thing because you are in quality.
For sure. You guys are all in really wide industries. I know we've got a variety of things going on here. In all of your industries, is there something that's really unique about your industry, whether it's aerospace, heavy industrial, excuse me, or otherwise? Is there something unique about what you do that you feel is special that you want to share?
So I feel I actually have a little bit of background story to answer that question. So I used to first work in India with a tier 1 automotive manufacturing industry. There I took various roles of, as I mentioned, of product engineering, supplier, quality, R&D as well. And then it was a stage of my life where I chose to marry and I had to relocate after marriage. Well, let me correct. It was not I had to relocate. I chose to relocate. And then when I came here to Seattle, I saw like IT companies are really, really dominant here. And I was like, okay, it doesn't matter. I still have quality skill set and background. I can, land a job opportunity into any companies. You won't believe I applied job into 176 companies. I used to keep a track in Excel sheet just because quality is in my blood now. And then I was like, maybe I'm looking for the wrong companies because my entire experience is into manufacturing domain. However, I'm currently working as software quality. So it took time for me to realize that the quality skill sets vary within the same, they remain same within the same industry domain, but they will vary if you are changing the domain. For example, if I have to say the criticality of quality into a manufacturing industry, or say if you are into aerospace industry, if you are compromising the quality, you are dealing with somebody else's lives. It comes at a cost of human, right? Whereas if you are working into an app industry which prepares a music app, for example, and the app crashes, I believe that is definitely a compromise on quality, but not as critical as manufacturing industry. So definitely there is that kind of speciality that once you have the quality fundamentals, you can land into any domain, industry domain, but also it comes with a set of uniqueness that's attached to it.
Yeah. No, Diane, I know you have a really fun story because although you work in aerospace manufacturing quality, you also chose at some point to go create wine. So I'd love for you to talk about how those skills transfer.
Yes. My husband and I are amateur winemakers. We've been making wine for 6 or 7 years now. And when we first started, we had 2 tasting notes: slightly offensive and very offensive. That was our 2 tasting notes. And we would get these wines and trying to figure out, what went wrong, what did we do, this is awful. We had no documentation. We weren't keeping track of the things that we needed to keep track of. So, if we made something awful, there was no way to figure out why it went sideways. If we made something good, there would be no way to figure out how to do that again. How do we replicate that? So immediately I started tracking everything. Just like quality, I tracked all the variables, everything that can go along with winemaking, and doing the root cause analysis on something that went bad. And with the data that you collect, you start to troubleshoot. And now we actually have wine that we we'll give away at Christmas. So it's not too bad.
Now, I know quality is near and dear to all of your guys' heart. I know that your husband's a pilot. So
yeah, personally, my husband's a test pilot at Boeing, so I think about quality every day that he goes to fly. I know he thinks about quality every day. That's really important. I think here, the industry, it's very similar, right? I mean, we're putting people, I think if you heard Justin, in Moses Lake, we make booms that go 180 feet in the air. Quality is extremely important. And then, of course, not just obviously safety is number one, but that's our brand. Quality by design, that's our brand. And so our customers, use our products. We sell very much to the rental companies, and they use our products to make money, right? And so if our products aren't running as they should, if they're down, they're not making the money for our customers the way they should. And that's, a direct reflection on us and our brand. And so certainly personally and professionally, quality is critical to me.
Yeah. Now this industry isn't always sunshine, kittens, and rainbows. So I'd be curious to hear about a really difficult situation, whether it was a scenario within your business or a defect or something to that that you've experienced, and how did that turn out for you?
I can recall getting hired into a company, brand new as quality manager. Got in there, went through orientation, came back the next day, and they said, by the way, our AS9100 audit is in 11 days. And I went, oh, okay. And I said, so any concerns? And they're like, nah, our quality manager's been gone a couple months, but I think we're doing good, So I went, okay. I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to research QMS, and I went immediately to prior audits to see what they had been written up for in the past. And I noticed that the last 2 years, it was for their root cause corrective action process. And the first year, they deemed it ineffective. They got a minor. They came back the next year, still an issue, automatic major. Coming back this year, you run the risk of having your cert suspended. So I immediately looked into what they had done from the prior year, and it was kind of like, And, I mean, they thought they were going to do okay, and I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. There wasn't really much I could do in 10 days, to change up the quality system. So auditor came in, audited, sure enough, did not like what they had done with the root cause corrective action, didn't think it was adequate, failed again. So I was able to talk with the auditor and tell her my plan, that, hey, I'm new, I've just got here, here's how I plan to fix it. And she said, well, you got, I think 60 days to show me what you're going to do. And that was quite a challenge because I didn't really know anything about the company. It's hard to come in and just make all these changes when you really don't know anything about the company yet. So, I thought, well, I don't know anything about the company, but everybody else here does. So I grabbed everyone and routed everyone in the company pretty much through root cause corrective action training, how to get to the true root cause, office support people, shop, everybody went through. And then I solicited their input to how do we fix this? Here's what's wrong with the process. How do we fix it? And I was amazed at all the ideas that everybody came up with. I mean, they had the solutions. We totally revamped the nonconformist document, built a whole new process flow with how that would work and the feedback loop, and they were great. I think they surprised themselves. And so the auditor accepted our corrective action plan. We put it into place. The next year when she showed up, she was going to go through that with a fine-tooth comb. And it was great because the employees in the shop had helped and had input on the process. They were utilizing it. They were doing what they should. We had all the documentation, and they actually marked it as a strength during the audit. So it was a huge win. Everybody was, so proud and happy. And I think the best part of it was employees coming to me and saying, you know what? The first time in a long time, I feel kind of excited coming into work because I have an idea I want to share. And it's not, root cause corrective action is not a sexy, fun thing to work on. That wasn't why they were excited. They were excited because they were participating. They had input. They were being heard. They felt like they had some control over their work environment. So, yeah, it was great.
I feel I've been into a similar situation where when I used to identify root causes, of course, you have to deal with different teams, different departments, right? And when I used to dig in more information, the teams were scared to state the facts, right? Because they're like, oh, if I say this went wrong, will I be held accountable for, oh, you did this wrong? And it used to be a challenge on a day-to-day basis. But it took time for me to convince them that, no, just speak out the problems. If you don't speak out the problems, you won't ever get a solution, right? And then when they started seeing benefits of it, then people used to come and speak out their concerns. Oh, you know what? This is where we can improve. This is where we are going wrong, and we need to figure out the solution for this. So slowly that challenge is overcome, and then it serves as a boon on a day-to-day life.
So this event isn't just about quality, and I'm going off the script a little bit, but we need to talk about this. But this isn't just about quality, this is also about inventory. So I'm curious, in all of your guys' experience, is there any instances where there was a major overlap between quality assurance and inventory, and where you've had to go and solve problems together?
Well, I would say it's, for me, when I was dealing one of the project, again, identifying a root cause. So we figured out that every team, when they are working individually, silo, everything was going well. But, when all these teams come together and deliver one product, one project as a whole, definitely we were facing certain problems and we are not able to identify what went wrong. And when digging out for root causes, we figured out that there was one particular component that was failing again and again, leading to so many warranty issues and failures. And I was like, this same component is being used in other product as well. Why are we not facing issues there? And then we tried to dig out more, and it turns out that the component was used in the product beyond the shelf life. And that was leading to all the quality problems. And then we have to go back and, of course, manage our inventory, figure out if this component is outside of its shelf life, we need to scrap it and take appropriate actions. But that's how I felt it was all related, talking about inventory. If we are not managing our inventory well, or if it's not up to date, we definitely face problems in overall product quality.
I think I spent a couple years as a materials manager, and if anyone is a materials manager or purchasing person here, you don't get the credit you deserve. It is a really hard job. So I give materials managers all the credit in the world. And I think when I was there, we were going through an ERP implementation. And so the quality of things like bills of material or things like, cycle counts and those types of things, you learn about quality really quickly when you go through one of those implementations. And so, I can't think of one specific example, but every day, in that role, no matter how good you are, no matter how good your bills of material are, no matter how good your supplier is, there's always something, right? And it usually, I always think of materials as kind of the hub of the wheel, like everything hits materials. And so I think for me, it was just really learning about how to be methodical in problem solving, how to partner with production, how to partner with your suppliers, how to partner with quality to solve those problems. Because there's always going to be something, no matter how good you are and how much you continuously improve. But partnering together and really driving to the root cause, you'll get through those ERP implementations and come out the other side. But it was a really good learning experience. And I think for me, that was where I saw a lot of the overlap.
Yeah. So speaking of, we had a whole event about ERP systems and technology, the last event, so we could go on and on about that for sure. But thinking about how quality and inventory are both kind of receiving and or partners to the manufacturing process, what are some things that the other groups could do to help make the quality role or the inventory role easier or higher quality or better?
Well, I feel quality, it's not just the responsibility of one department or one particular team. I believe quality as a department or team, they just drive the overall quality within the organization. But every other team in the organization is responsible for quality. So as I mentioned, we need to build quality into the product So it's not like, oh, yeah, I've built a product and at the end of the manufacturing line, quality people comes and audit to see if the product is up to the mark or not. It's like an ongoing thing. To give an example, when we do this DFMEAs and PFMEAs, which is a risk identifying tool, we come with a lot of corrective and preventive actions, right? At times, it could be the right material selection. At times, it could be related to the fixtures. At times, it could be related to design and tolerances. So I feel like that's how quality fit in inputs to each and every department, and every department contributes to it. So it's not just one department.
I think for me, especially if I go back to kind of the materials days, getting really clear direction on priorities from the organization. So are we really focused on net working capital and we want to keep really, really tight inventory goals? Or is our delivery, we have a lot of options. Not every slab scissor goes out exactly the same necessarily. And so, do we stock to be able to deliver any option on any day and keep our lead times really short? And so a lot of times I would see conflict in priorities. So I think from asking the business to do something for that organization, I think just being really clear on what the priorities are so that we can adjust. Because I think everyone you can tweak, you can change and be nimble. But you just have to know what kind of true north is at that time.
And I think quality, it takes a lot for something to get into inventory. So I think quality touches on a lot of the steps along the way, creating a bill of materials. What do we need to buy? There's quality oversight there. Purchase orders that go out to suppliers, quality oversight there. Are we asking for the right grade, the right certs? Receiving, or did we get what we asked for? Did we get our paperwork? Is the paperwork right? As in aerospace, you can have a perfectly good part, but nobody is going to accept it if you don't have the right paperwork that goes with it. So there's so many things to verify and to make sure are correct before something gets into inventory, because there's nothing worse than having a JIT, a just-in-time process where you pull something out of inventory to put it into an assembly that's supposed to ship the next day, only to find out it's wrong or the paperwork's wrong. It's you've been holding on to it in inventory for all this time, letting it tick away, only to find out that you can't use it. So there takes a lot of checks and balances and a good system to get something in the inventory that's good.
Absolutely. Those two processes, they're near and dear. I worked in quality myself for 6 years before I went into any other number of roles. And so to me, that's always it has to be ingrained. It has to be part of your process. It's very important to embed it into every aspect of your business, all the way from the upfront processes, all the way through manufacturing for sure. So as we start to wrap down the panel here, I want you guys to share with the audience one takeaway that you would just want them to walk away from the tour today, from your experience today. What's one thing that you would want everybody to just tuck away and remember from their time with us?
I think a QMS, no matter what industry it is unique to your company. So in aerospace, most everybody has to be AS9100 certified. Everybody has the AS9100 cert that they have to comply with, but the way your company does that is totally up to you. So if there are things that are not working in your company, quality-wise or system-wise, change it. Bring everyone together. How do we change this? How do we change our whole root cause corrective action process? So just think about that each day, that everything is changeable.
I think I have a message around similar lines. So when I first started, I never wanted to be in quality, but when I was talking to my mentor, she asked me, why don't you want to be in quality? And I was like, it comes with lots of responsibilities, right? If something goes wrong, everyone puts a blame on quality. And then she was like, just turn around and look at it from a different perspective, that you get an opportunity to do the right things, to ensure that only right products get delivered to the customer, because that's what we want at the end of the day, right? It could be as simple as if someone is picking groceries for us, we want it to be of perfect quality, right? I believe like we just have to change perspective, bring that quality perspective in our mind. And I always feel like quality, its presence is like a salt. You may not feel its presence, but but its absence is definitely felt. So that's a takeaway for me for my entire lifetime.
I think for me, especially for those that are maybe just starting in manufacturing, when I first started in manufacturing was not my plan, and I never felt like I was technical enough. I have a degree in supply chain. I don't have an engineering degree, and I would find myself apologizing in meetings for not being technical enough or not being an engineer. But there were skills that I brought from a different perspective. And so I think especially sometimes as women in manufacturing or in male-dominated industries, I would find myself, making myself a little smaller sometimes or feeling silly for asking questions. And over time, I saw, it took me a while, but I saw the value that I brought with a different perspective and not having as technical of a background, but a different one. And so I think just take chances on yourself, believe in yourself, don't apologize for not being as technical if you're not, and recognize that the skill set you bring is really valuable. And so maybe not quality or inventory related, but that's kind of my big takeaway for women in manufacturing.
I definitely appreciate that. We would like to open it up for questions for the audience. So if there's anything that you've got jotted down or tucked away, is there any questions that we'd like to ask?
I have learned to delegate, which was pretty hard for me in the beginning. I've been in this industry for a long, long time, and back when I was, quality engineer, quality manager, there were not a lot of females. So, I felt like I could not say, "Hey, I need some help on this." I didn't want to seem like, "Oh, of course the girl needs help." Let someone help her. So it was tough for me. I used to just, take it on and work too many hours. It was stressful. I learned to delegate. Here's an issue. Who do I have, or what couple people can I give this to that I think can handle this? Or, hey, I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to set this, aside until maybe Friday when things aren't so busy. But, some things you can't. There are deadlines. So delegating to people who have a skill set. Maybe they're not even in quality, but they can help, pair up. Once I started delegating, I was very surprised at how many people stepped up and had a lot of abilities that, maybe you don't realize. So I would say to handle stress, don't try to take it all on your shoulders.
Yeah, and I think I would... what I follow is I try to speak it up because it has happened at times with me. My manager is like, here's the deadline. You have to meet your deadline. And then I had a valid rationale saying that why we won't be able to meet that deadline. And there were times where the deadlines were revisited because when you consider something at the start of the project that this is your end goal, you never know if things are going to work out in a smooth way, just as you imagined, right? So as you come across different things, just try to speak it up, bring that in front of the table. You might end up having more resources, more hands to deliver that project. You might end up postponing that deadlines for a valid reason. And or as you mentioned, you could delegate that work. So it's just speaking out.
Yeah, I think... Again, going back to that materials role, I wasn't great at handling the stress that came along with it and the responsibility of, did we just shut a line down? Did my supplier shut a line down? And I think I learned over time, and I'm still learning, that everyone is inherently good. Everyone who works here is doing their job and trying really hard. And sometimes things happen, and we recognize the problem. We understand the root cause, we learn from it, and we problem solve. I think to your point, problem solve together. The more people you can bring in, the better solution you'll get. And so I think it was a big learning curve, and I'm still learning. The other thing I would add is probably in the last month, I recognize that if I don't take care of myself, my level of stress gets to a point where like I'm not a really great colleague to have. And so like making sure I get outside for 20 minutes, even just to walk around the block and clear my head. And I used to kind of poo-poo that before. And I think it's really important. And I've seen a like physical and mental difference in that. So take care of yourself.
That is a really good tip. I like that one. I'm trying to do the same. Any other questions? I guess I could jump in there. So what I've found working with various groups across, because my whole job is a service, right? Like I'm not making the money. I'm a service to everybody else. And the biggest thing that I've found to help unlock communication barriers is empathy and trying to understand put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Try to live a moment in their life and understand truly where they're coming from before you ask them to do anything or ask them to contribute to anything. So whether it's 5 minutes, just taking 5 minutes to just, hey, walk me through the problem that you're facing and maybe I can help you and then you can help me. So it's like I scratch your back, you scratch mine type of situation. And it's just spending that 5 minutes to show them that you understand a little bit of what they're going through usually unlocks the communication and makes them feel like you're a person that they can trust and communicate with, and it helps break down barriers. That's experience for me.
Yeah, I think there's a training class that we did here in the like Leading for Success program or something. I can't remember what it's called. But they do a communication style preference inventory. I don't know if you've done those before, but it comes out like they're Sydney or Todd, help me out here, but there's like 4 different styles of communication preference, and like someone's an analyst, someone is much more empathetic, and so it was really interesting not just to hear or realize what I am, how I like to get and give it, information, but then also to recognize what my peers are, and so I can tailor my communication to their style. So someone really just wants the facts, I can 3 bullets or less, get the information out. Some people really want to sit and have a conversation and go to Gemba and do all those things. Then you kind of know how they like to be given information, and then they feel seen and heard, and you can kind of go together to solve a problem. So it was a really interesting exercise if you ever get the chance to do one.
Let's give a round of applause for Thank you for joining us today for Women in Manufacturing Washington's Manufacturing Fundamentals Quality and Inventory Workshop. The 3 key takeaways from today is, number 1, be brave, take a chance, and say yes to opportunities that come your way. Number 2, when you are faced with a deadline or a problem that you have to fix, delegate. You never know who's going to come out of the woodwork and be able to help you with what you've got on your plate. And number 3, build quality into everything. We make things that fly, things that move, and things that go, and you never know whose life is depending on it.